you. Non-punctual. This meeting will come to order. The special meeting was called by Mayor Kathy 10Apr23 for the purpose to discuss and possibly pass ordinance number 31, 2023. Roll call.
Freeman.
Present.
Gregg.
Here.
Harvard Smith.
Here.
Vern King.
Here.
Lewis.
Present.
Lombardi.
Here.
Sloops.
Here.
Sneed.
Here.
And Viola.
Here.
Roll call of 9 present.
And Madam Clerk, we also have attendance with us today, the following city officials.
Mayor Kathy Perry.
Good evening.
I didn't see Barb. Auditor Jane Ferraro.
I'm here.
Law Director Justin Richard.
Present.
Assistant Law Director Edmund Mack. Civil Engineer Greg McHugh.
Present.
Economic Development Director David Maley. Income Tax Budget Director Lori Katakides Borman.
Present.
Fire Chief Matthew Heck.
Present.
And did Chief St. Noy leave?
Yes.
Is there anyone else from administration? Oh, Mr. Burgasser still there?
He left.
He left, okay. I believe that's it, Madam President.
Thank you. We are open for remarks from delegations and citizens to make on the matter that is on tonight's agenda. If you wish to do so, please come forward, state your name and address, and please limit your comments to 4 minutes or less. Seeing none, we'll move on to ordinance number 31, 2023.
An ordinance authorizing the Director of Public Service and Safety of the City of Massillon, Ohio, to advertise for and receive sealed bids and to enter into a contract with the lowest and best bidder upon the approval of the Board of Control for the 2023 Street Resurfacing Project, Contract 1, and declaring an emergency.
Councilman Snead.
Thank you, President. I'm Nick. So this needed to come up for a revote. Mr. Lewis noticed the numbers weren't quite correct, and would you be willing to expand on that a little bit? Sure.
Councilman Lewis.
So, in speaking with multiple members of the city, the request that was in front of council, I believe, was for this entire street list that was attached to the request of legislation. And when you read the bottom, it has the amount that we have budgeted at 1.8 million or 1.834 million. And then it states that there needs to be an additional appropriation of $425,000, bringing it to $2,259,000 for the project. However, the requested legislation in the body and then the ordinance itself that was passed by council only has in there $1,834,000. So I made the argument that even if this council is to appropriate $425,000, the permission or the ordinance that sends you out to bid is only to go up to 1.8. So you're still falling short. It doesn't matter how much we appropriate. You're not even allowing it in the ordinance. So we would have to make a motion to reconsider the question on ordinance number 31, which would bring it back in front of us, then have to amend it to say the proper dollar amount, and then vote on what we want to do with that. And that was the purpose of tonight's meeting.
Thank you, Mr. Lewis. Open it up this time to any questions from council. Seeing none, I'd like to make a motion that we revisit ordinance number 31-2023, bring forward for a vote.
Second by Councilwoman Creamer. Roll call.
Gregg.
Yes.
Harvard Smith.
Yes.
Vern King.
Yes.
Lewis.
Yes.
Lombardi.
Yes.
Sloops.
Yes.
Sneed.
Yes.
Viola. Yes. And Creamer.
Yes.
9 yes to reconsider ordinance number 31-2023.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Ordinance number 31, 2023 is being reconsidered. Councilman Snead.
Thank you, President Eisnick. At this time, I'd like to make a motion that we make an amendment to ordinance number 31-2023 and adjust the project cost estimate to $2,259,000 and bring it forward for a vote.
Second by Councilman Creamer. Roll call for the amendment.
Howard Smith,
Yes.
Kern Kay,
Yes.
Lewis,
Yes.
Lombardi,
Yes.
Sluse,
Yes.
Snead,
Yes.
Viola, Creamer,
Yes.
and Gregg.
Yes.
9 yes to amend ordinance number 31-2023 to reflect the corrected amount of $2,259,000 and 0 cents.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Ordinance number 31-2023 has been amended. Councilman Snead.
If there's no further comments or questions, I'd like to make a motion that we adjourn.
Has to do something with it.
Oh, we need, I'm sorry. With the amendment, sorry.
Remember, it's on first reading right now.
Right. So I'd like to make a motion that we no, I'm not making a motion, I apologize. I'd like to bring ordinance number 31 for first reading.
We need to suspend the rules.
Okay, well, then I'd like to make a motion that we waive the suspend the rules requiring 3 readings and bring ordinance number 31-2023 with the amendment forward for a vote. Correct?
Yes.
For suspension. Roll call for suspension.
Correct.
Kern Kay,
Yes.
Lewis,
Yes.
Lombardi,
Yes.
Sluse,
Yes.
Snead,
Yes.
Viola,
Yes.
Creamer,
Yes.
Gregg,
Yes.
and Howard Smith.
Yes.
9 yes for suspension.
And for passage.
Lewis,
Yes.
Lombardi,
Yes.
Sluse,
Yes.
Snead,
Yes.
Viola, Creamer,
Yes.
Gregg,
Yes.
Howard Smith,
Yes.
and Kern Kay.
Yes.
9 yes for passage.
Thanks, Madam Clerk. Ordinance number 31-2023 has passed. This special meeting is adjourned.
Thank you, Council President. All right, community development.
I'd like to have a committee.
Wait a minute.
Oh, wait, oh, Diane's not ready.
Okay, I'm good.
Community development,
I have nothing, thank you.
economic development.
Thank you, Mr. Lewis. There's one old piece of legislation, that is ordinance number 22-2023, which is an $8,000 reducement grant for caffeine and gunpowder. Are there any questions or comments from anyone on council? Mr. Snead.
Thank you, Mr. Hurricane. I heard a statement. I understand and recognize the objection of the local minority as to the flags hanging on the interior walls of the shop of caffeine, gunpowder, coffee and gunpowder, caffeine and gunpowder. Admittedly, it's not everybody's cup of tea or coffee, in this case, to flash such flags. However, it is covered under the First Amendment right and cannot be a factor in why this or any business should receive a grant. In addition to expressing their First Amendment right, it's also a product they sell to others who wish to express their First Amendment right. I've seen these flags flying off the home of Earl Street, Civil Reserve Drives, and various pickup trucks in both around Massillon. This falls right into the line with other big box stores and online retailers who sell these products like Walmart, eBay, and Amazon, who also apply for and receive grants annually. These are signs that, while my others object to, are a viable product for sale that provides economic value. Different treatment now for coffee and gunpowder could and should be constituted not only as harassment but discrimination. As every member's oath of office to uphold the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Ohio, the condition of the economic grant should only be passed or denied based on the economic viability that the business may potentially bring in for the city. Caffeine and gunpowder have already advised the council that why they need this money. As a reminder, it's for the extra security and safety of their building and store to keep weapons out of the hand of unlawful criminals. To deny this grant is to potentially make it easier for criminals trying to illegally steal weapons. Coffee and gunpowder has already begun restoring firearms for the Massillon Police Department, potentially saving the city of Massillon tens, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars in the future, and providing for our police force with the tools they need to keep our streets safe. Putting it in layman's terms, council cannot award or deny this economic inducement grants based on a business owner expressing their First Amendment rights. We can and should grant based on the guidelines. Their economic value, which has been demonstrated by the length of being open, well over a decade, providing deep discounts for emergency services, and supporting mental health services, and more to our veterans. To the vocal minority who dislike their speech, the answer is simple: don't shop at that store. I, for one, will support any business who supports and exercises their First and Second Amendment rights. I've made copies for anybody that would like the pictures and the evidence that other businesses sell these flags. The restoration that they have offering in the police department, I have pictures of that as well. That's all I'd like to comment on it. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments from any other members of council? That's all for economic development.
Health, welfare, building,
I have nothing this evening.
parks and rec,
I have nothing this evening.
police and fire.
I have one new legislation request. This legislation for police or for the fire department, this legislation request is to accept a donation from Raymond and Lynn Indorf in the amount of $100. The donation is in memory of retired firefighter John E. Forgan. I would like this donation to be placed into travel and schooling for use in training our firefighters, and this was submitted by Chief Heck. That's pretty self-explanatory. Anybody have any questions? I'll be signing this and moving on to the agenda then for Monday. That's all I have for police and fire, Mr. Lewis.
Public utilities,
No business tonight, thank you.
rules and courts.
Thank you, Mr. Lewis. I have one piece of old business, ordinance number 17-2023. We tabled this until next meeting on the 17th. We amended it in our last meeting and decided, I believe, that it needed amended further to change the beginning date. Did we get that out to council? We amended the newly dated one?
Yes, Chairman, I sent a copy of that to you, and I believe I carbon copied the finance chair on it with the modified language that was suggested during our last meeting.
Did you receive a copy?
Yes.
And is that in our packets? Or it will be in our packets
It will be in your packet.
on Monday?
I can send it to you tomorrow, that way you'll have time to review it.
Okay.
Any questions?
Well, you said you sent it to me already. Okay, I haven't seen that email yet, but that's okay. So the change is just changing the date to the first meeting after October 1st of each term. So that's what we're amending it to, so that we're tying the amendment to the grant that's involved for the funding of whatever project is being funded. So, or in this case, the positions for the healthcare department. Any questions from members of the Rules and Courts Committee or comments?
The only comment I have is that I do support that these jobs are based on a grant. I will support it.
Other members of council? Seeing none, that's, we'll vote on this on the next meeting on the 17th. Thank you.
Streets and highways,
Thank you, Mr. Lewis. I still have one piece of old legislation, ordinance 30, to accept the dedication of the road right away for Canyon Creek Estates. I'd like to open that up now to council if they have any further questions about floodplains or anything like that. Seeing none, I will move this to the agenda for Monday. Thank you.
all right, finance, first piece we have is that $100 that is donated to the fire department. Appropriating it. Anybody? No. The next one we have is please prepare an ordinance to appropriate the unappropriated balance of the summer concert fund $15,000. And this is to pay for concert-related expenses. No discussion. continue to get his contracts in, one for the bar, bringing in $14,000 for providing prosecutorial services, one for Beach City, $6,000 for prosecutorial services, and one for the village of Wilmot for $2,000. Anybody have any questions on these? Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Lewis. I just wanted to ask the law department if these contract numbers changed at all from previous contracts, the dollar amount.
They have not changed over the past 5 years that I've been here.
So continuing as we have been.
They have, and I will just tell you, in response, the corresponding cases that we're receiving from those jurisdictions have not changed significantly. If anything, they've kind of, they're lower on the average than what they have been.
Thank you.
All right, then the last piece I have here is the appropriation of $425,000, and that is to cover the difference in the anticipation of the street resurfacing project. First, I would like to hear from Auditor Ferrero.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. President, Mr. Lewis.
Yeah, as a quick framework, when we're reading the statement of cash position with month-to-date totals, it's not uncommon for us maybe sometimes in the month of January where things are getting settled to see that ending balance be negative, but it usually takes back quickly when we start to see what our carryover and the impact on the city. For whatever reason, and what I hope you can explain for council, is as we enter the month of April, it's still negative, and now we have flipped back to the positive. Can you explain why we found ourselves in that position, even though we started with a 5.6?
Sure. Okay, I'm just going to give you just a real short version. Thank you. I'm going to give you a real short version of the financial way we go about it. In October, when the budget director comes to me and she asks me for a figure for the budget, I get that from her. And the way I do that is I look at history. I look at what additional revenue that we have coming in. We look at our carryover balance. I come up with a figure. I'm a little bit cautious so that we don't go over. And I give that figure to her. And then she makes up the budget. And she does it to the very dollar for the amount that I have certified for her. And that's certified over at the county, the Stark County Auditor's Office as well. Okay, so then when the budget is passed by all of you, on every line item, like each department has different line items in it. Some have supplies, some of them have services and contracts, payroll, medical, many things, travel, different things, schooling, different things. And so in January, when all of the department heads get the budget that's been approved by all of you, they'll put a purchase order through for the amount of money that you have allowed them in those line items. So let's just say you gave somebody $10,000 in supplies. And that department says, okay, I've been approved for that because you've given them that money. And so they put it on a purchase order, which we call a PO, which what that does is that affects our cash flow. So, because that money has been asked for and we said, okay, it's there, but our revenue still hasn't come in. Now this month, we're going to see an influx of revenue because of income tax. And then when property taxes come in, we see an influx of revenue. But it takes us almost till September so that we can see where all of our revenue is going to be. And then that's when I determine whether or not I'm going to recertify and say that we have more money to use for the city. And I usually talk to Mr. Lewis about that and let him know that, and I have to do all that through the county. So when people go and put things on POs, which that's what you saw when you saw the negative balance because people had encumbered that money. and they haven't spent it. We went to some of those department heads and we said to them, because like some of them have leases, and so they just put for the whole year that they're gonna pay this lease. Well, you know, they didn't have to put in for all of the money all at once. They could have waited and done it quarterly or, you know, every 6 months or something. So we asked them to reduce those purchase orders, and so that would not look like it was in the negative. But that's what caused the negative balance, was because people were putting in encumbrances, and when they do that, that comes off of the revenue side. Clear as mud?
So when we're looking at this cash statement here, the one thing, you know, that I would be looking at as well is you have the unexpended balance, and that's what we haven't spent essentially from what we swung over and what our revenue has. And then that encumbrances year to date, that's all those POs and other things.
That's
and
correct.
Since the encumbrances year to date exceeded the unexpended, that's where we ran into the negative.
So, and I also would invite any of you, I will say, I remember when Mrs. Creamer started on council many years ago, she came in my office and she sat there for a few hours with us, and she went over all the financial procedure that we go through so that she could learn how we did our finances for the city. And it helped her to understand when a lot of the things came through, that how our office operates. And I would invite any of you to do that. And if you have questions, you call me, you call my chief deputy, and you can also call the budget director, because she's who we work with on all of this. If we see the budget is going out of whack, I notify her, and she notifies me, and we get together, and we have to come back to you and ask for more money.
Anybody have questions for the auditor? All right, thank you, Ms. Barber. Lori, you got to give these four on. Come on. I just wanted to give you an opportunity to add anything from the budget director's perspective.
I think Auditor Ferraro hit all the important points pretty much on the head there. We do talk, I actually talk to Stephanie probably daily, and Jane about twice a week, so we do monitor that as we go. Just a couple things too, when you look at the what we have encumbered or whatever, I just want to keep in mind too, we did appropriate that $750,000 earlier this year too. So, you know, that did affect our cash as well. So, but the auditor covered that in detail. So if anybody has any questions for me.
Mr. Irving?
Thank you, Mr. Lewis. This is Cottage Board, I guess I do have a question. It was reported that the carryover would be about $5.5 million, is that correct?
Yes. I don't know the number top of my head, but that's it.
Approximately.
Yes.
Can you tell me and council where in this sheet, or what column we should be looking at to find where, if the ending balance is now $403,000, where the $5 million carryover would be on this statement of cash position?
Okay, our beginning balance at 5.6, that would be where we started. That would be the carryover.
So at the ending balance, when this was really, really high at the end of the year, and then went negative for a while, and now it's gotten back up to 403,000, correct?
Correct.
So are you saying that most of that carryover has already been appropriated or encumbered?
At this point, because we haven't got everything in from our revenue for the year, some of that has been used. I would have to work with the auditor to get you the exact amount of that, Mr. Hernkane, but as the next 2 months, you should see all of that grow as the income tax comes in.
All right, thank you.
Sure.
Anybody else have any questions? All right, thank you. With that said, then we have here is at 4:25. Does anybody have any questions regarding that? All right, I'll go ahead and sign it and have it on the agenda for Monday. thing we have here is this transfer, it is civil service reduction in hospital eye and dental by $2,630. Putting it into the PRS and Medicare. It's supposed to realign the budget for the civil service operator and over to Medicare. Questions? Now I know we have been discussing the grant related to the tear down of the property at Howard's Tiger Rats. I'm trying to put my head around a couple other things that, were brought up last time. So I think we're just waiting another couple of weeks and we can discuss it again unless anyone has anything they want to discuss tonight. Ms. Horvath?
I'm just wondering if we have a final cost yet on the 2 tear downs, and we have a cost if there's any damage that has to be repaired to the existing buildings. Do we
Related to Howard's?
related to Howard's and also to, just because both of them,
We can have, Mr. Bailey, can you give us any kind of updates on the cost and state of the buildings?
Council, I think I'm prepared to give you a cost. The emergency demo of 1420, we are waiting to pay the structural engineer. That's the only outstanding invoice. So once that gets paid, which should be happening pretty quickly, we should have a final cost, and I can bring a final cost next time. There is one issue with the Marguerite's building on the wall where the demo took place. We're having some stuff done to the top parapet of the wall, needs to be repaired, and then some flashing thin. Hopefully that's done within the next 2 weeks. And once that is done, that should be completed also, and I can have a total cost for that. But it's going to be still in